speaker, Paul.
Hi, Matt. My name is Paul Mandel. I'm a state employee with 2 kids in college. Third one's graduated already. I'm on the school board, so I'm watching our education budgets go down. I've got a father-in-law who's in a nursing home and a mother-in-law who's in subsidized housing. And how do we get to a point where we can convince our society and take our leadership to the point that we're not always pitting one against the other? I mean, it seems like there's a victim every year. You take turns being victims. How do you, I know you've spoken to revenue, you've spoken to your commitment to education, but how do you get to that point when we face a structural imbalance with it?
Well, what the conservatives want, I should say the so-called conservatives want, is they want us to believe the pie is this big and it never gets bigger. And so if we want to help someone who's in a nursing home, the only way we can help them is at the expense of somebody else. And that's not the way the world works. But it's the way their world works. And under their world, the pie keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then what they do is then they pit all of us against one another. And we become like my retriever. We just are chasing our tail all the time. And that's fine if you're a retriever, but it's not good when you're running a state. But that's literally what we're doing. And so you have to have a vision. Now some of you are going to go, is he going to talk about clean energy again? Yep, I am. Because you have to have a message. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan. You know, you don't grow jobs by magic. And you don't do it through 20 different pilot programs. You think about it, every one of you, you're writing a check every month to Excel or whoever your power company is, probably for hundreds of dollars. And that money is all walking out of the state. And it's also going to things that aren't environmentally sustainable. We should be paying ourselves. We should be putting up wind turbines everywhere. And solar collectors and geothermal heating and cooling, and moving to the next generation of biomass, which will help rural Minnesota. We can be creating an unbelievable number of jobs. And when someone tells you, oh, well, we've already did that. We passed a law and there's going to be renewables. Well, you know what? 90% of the wind turbines in the state are owned by out-of-state companies, and they import everything, including the labor, and we get almost nothing out of it. We need to have them community-owned. And our legislature has not passed bills for community-owned sustainable energy. And that's part of what we have to do. So you need a government that's going to focus on it. That's a strategy that will grow the economy. And when you grow the economy, and you do the other revenue things we've been talking about, then you've got resources so you can start saying, you know what, we're going to help a baby boom that's getting older and help our kids to do better and properly fund the university. But you have to have leadership with a plan, not with a hope, but with a plan.
Thank you. And the last question comes from Anissa.
Hi there, I'm Anissa Parks. I teach in Minneapolis Public Schools. And so I reject this ideology that denies the ongoing impacts of racism in our society. As a teacher, I see how ignoring the impacts
You've been reading Catherine Kirsten lately.
No, I passed it out, but I decided I didn't want to be pressed. I see that if we ignore racism in our state, what happens is that we then forget about proposing long-term solutions that will actually promote the integration in our schools and in our communities that move all children closer to opportunities through public policy. I believe in a Minnesota that nurtures all of our children and structures our schools so that all children are academically and socially competent in the diverse state which they'll live in as adults, which is different than the state we grew up in. How will you build an education platform that includes racial equity and talks about it with the goal of addressing those academic and social skills that they'll need in a diverse community?
Well, let's start with what I have done, as opposed to just what I'm thinking about doing, but what I've done. And we'll start with our family. We live in St. Paul. My oldest is 20 now. Our twins are 18, all boys. Our oldest was a year and a half when our twins were born. Now you can imagine if I can survive that, running the state's going to be easy. And we've gone through St. Paul public schools. And there's some folks that said, oh boy, are you sure you want to go to public schools? And there are folks obviously in private schools' choice, and people get to make their choices. But I'm really proud of St. Paul Public Schools and what they've done with tremendous adversity because they've gone through so many years of budget cuts. But my twins are seniors now at St. Paul Central. And there's a school that is about a third black, about a third Asian, and roughly a little less than a third white, and then about 4% Latino. And It is a school that does a great job for many kids. But the thing that Central doesn't do, and that Minnesota schools don't do particularly well, is our lower income, particularly children of color, are not well served. And we have some of the worst achievement gap in the country. And the reason why I have so many leaders in the community of color supporting me is because they know not my recent commitment, but my longtime commitment to dealing with the achievement gap. When I was elected to the legislature, I said I want to go on the K-12 committee because I know it's education that gave me my route out of poverty, and that is the route out for all of us in our families if those opportunities are there. When I get into governor, I'm going to get rid of Leave No Child Behind, which has been meaningless and stigmatizes public schools. It was designed to push for vouchers, is what it was designed for, and to privatize things so private sectors can make money at the expense of our kids. And instead, we need to focus on real education, which is dealing with the achievement gap, and to make sure that we're focused on making sure that all kids can achieve.
Thank you. Thank you so much.